Hello and welcome back to the North Shore Station for this very special episode 10, season 2 of the North Shore Station. Week 9 has just happened in the NFL. I'm Lucas Durazio here on the campus of Duquesne University. I'm joined today by Dom Farrow, usually sitting next to me. Today behind the glass, on the sticks. We're losing Camden today. He's in Heinz Field right now. He's getting ready for the Steelers and Bears to kick off in a little less than an hour. This is being recorded on November 8th, Monday at around 7 p.m. Dom, how's it feel to be behind the glass today?
It's a little weird. I understand why Camden enjoys it, though. You can kind of fall back here a little bit, but I'd prefer to be next to you.
Yeah, I know. I miss you out here, too.
Well, I'd prefer to be at Heinz Field if I'm keeping it real.
Yeah, I'm sure you're a little jealous of Camden, who's not even a Steelers or Bears fan, but yet is in the stadium right now with Dom here. But we're keeping the three-man crew today because we have a special guest via Zoom, former Penn State starting quarterback, former NFL quarterback with the Raiders and many other teams, Matt McGloin, joining us today. Matt, thank you so much for coming on to the North Shore Station. How you feeling today?
Hey, what's going on? I appreciate you having me, man. Yeah, anytime you get an opportunity to talk about football, college, NFL, it's awesome, man. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. We really appreciate you coming on. Former All-State guy at in Pennsylvania at West Scranton High School. A little Northeast PA football action. Shout out to all the guys that I know from Northeast PA. Penn State from 2009 to 2012. Starter from 2010 to 2012. First walk-on to start for Penn State. We're just boosting your ego a little bit here, Matt.
There we go.
Anything to get you comfortable here. But yeah, I mean, how are things going? I know you're working now for the Big Ten Network, getting some calls in. Me and Dom are a little amateur right now calls. Called a volleyball game the other day, hoping to get to your level one day. But yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. How's the Big Ten looking right now?
Great, man. Hey, listen, man, get the reps. Get all the experience you can get now, man. It's great where you guys are at now. Like I said, just continue to work, continue to grind, continue to get reps, and for me, it's been awesome. Kind of being able to cover the Big Ten, doing some work for Sirius XM, ESPNU, Big Ten Radio. Called a few games for the Big Ten Network this year, and I also do a podcast called Pater, Penn State Football Podcast. So it's been awesome. I love Big Ten football. I've always loved Big Ten football. I had the opportunity to play in the Big Ten for Penn State. So it's a part of who I am. It's some of the best football you're going to see year in and year out. So it's fantastic being able to watch and break those games down. And this is one of the great years for the Big Ten. It's extremely competitive. Every week is important right now, and it's a race to the finish now in both divisions, the East and the West. Only a few weeks left, but these games are crucial for a lot of these teams right now in the hunt.
Yeah, I mean, while we're on the subject, we'll talk some Big Ten football. Usually stick to NFL football, but I mean, with a guest like this, how can we not talk about Penn State and the Big Ten? And I mean, the Big Ten right now is arguably the best conference in football in the nation. I mean, everyone always talks about the SEC every year, but I mean, you just look at how many ranked teams are in the Big Ten, and one of them is your alma mater, Penn State. Currently sitting at number 23, was up in the top 5, top 4 there for a while. Unfortunately, a 4-game skid right now, losing to Iowa, Illinois, Ohio State, and then Maryland. What's going on with Penn State? What's your diagnosis?
Well, look, defensively, they've been about as consistent as anybody in the country. A tremendous amount of talent on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of those guys are going to be playing on Sundays. That's how talented that group is, and they've done a fantastic job all year. It's really the offense that has been the Achilles heel for this Penn State football team. The inability to run the football week in and week out has really hurt them. But if you can point to one thing that has cost them some games, it's the injury and the health of Sean Clifford. You look at this entire season leading up to where he got injured at Iowa, and he was playing fantastic football. The offense was rolling. They were throwing the football all over the field. He gets hurt at Iowa. They lose at Iowa. He plays the Illinois game where he clearly wasn't 100%. They clearly couldn't function as an offense. They end up losing that game, and they played Ohio State well. I still don't think he looked 100% in that game. But they're able to bounce back and get a win against a good Maryland team on the road. So, you look back and it's kind of like, if he didn't get hurt, where would they be right now as a football team? They could very easily be undefeated. They can very easily only have one loss. So it's very unfortunate, that they've dealt with some injuries. But again, 3 weeks left, and the season is far from over from Penn State. They have Michigan left to play, and then they have to finish the season against a tough Michigan State team. So a lot of football left. So they have to continue to go, man. Games left to be played.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Penn State and Sean Clifford. It seemed like coming into the year, that was kind of a big question for them. Their defense, like you said, been very consistent. Got a lot of guys who are going to be playing on Sundays on that defense. Clifford was kind of the question mark coming in. I mean, they've got a lot of talented guys all over the field, especially in that wide receiver group. I mean, you look at Jahan Dotson and what he has done this year. And I mean, obviously that is with great reason because of Sean Clifford. But I mean, Sean Clifford showed he can run this team and make them a top 5 team, and he did that early in the year. And obviously, like you said, that injury really hurt them. Like you said, going up against number 9 Michigan this week. Michigan coming into Penn State. What do you look forward to in this one against another team that has had talks about being in the college football playoff, right before that Michigan State loss? What are you looking forward to this week?
Right. Well, I mean, look, defensively, it's night and day for Michigan compared to where they were last year. Just an impressive turnaround on the defensive side of the ball. They're playing some really good football. Had trouble stopping the run in that loss to Michigan State. But were able to bounce back and get a win, this past week. So this is a tough game for Penn State. It really is. Michigan has proved that they're not just a running offense, right? Cade McNamara has thrown the ball well when he's been asked to do so. You look at the Nebraska game, he threw it well to help them win the game. And even in the loss to Michigan State, he threw the football extremely well. So, I mean, this is a complete offense that Michigan has. Defense will certainly be tested. But again, as I talked about earlier, it's going to fall on this offense for Penn State, right? Can you throw the football down the field? Can you continue to create explosive plays? Like, I don't think John Dotson's going to be running it as open as he was against Maryland. I just don't think that's going to happen. So you're going to have to be able to pick and choose when you're going to take shots downfield. You're going to have to find completions. You're going to have to sustain drives because you understand Michigan as a football, they are a run-heavy football team. So, get first downs, time of possession, put drives together. So, when you look at it, Penn State offensively may be limited in the attempts that they have to score. So you got to make the most of the time when you have the football, got to get points. I'm not saying Penn State needs to go out and run for 200 yards, but you have to get positive yards in the run game against this Michigan defense, or it could be a long afternoon and another loss for Penn State.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one this weekend in Penn State. You talked about that team that Penn State has to finish with, and it's Michigan State. And a lot of teams in the Big Ten, I mean, their end goal is to make it into that college football playoff. We already talked about Ohio State a little bit. And Michigan State and Ohio State seem to be the two right now at the top. Michigan's still there, of course. Michigan State dropping that loss to Purdue, which is a huge one, a huge shocker. But who of those 3 teams who Ohio State finishes with after Purdue this week, Michigan State and then Michigan, number 8 and number 9, who do you think has the edge of those 3 teams to make it into the college football playoff if they win out?
Right. Well, I mean, look, not even talking about the college football playoff yet. I mean, it's in the Big Ten, it's Ohio State, and then it's everyone else. And until somebody can prove otherwise, it's going to remain that way. You mentioned Michigan State. I give Mel Tucker all the credit in the world for the job that he's done this year. Absolutely fantastic, winning football games and turning this program around in a hurry. But with that being said, they have problems defensively. That secondary has struggled all year against the pass. And that was a terrible matchup for them on Saturday against that Purdue football team. You knew Purdue wasn't going to try to run the football. They're a pass-heavy team. That's if they're going to win football games, it's because of the success in the pass game. And they did that against one of the worst passing defenses in the Big Ten in Michigan State. But again, Michigan State, right? They control their own destiny, right? They control where they go from here, right? They're still in the hunt. They still have a chance. And that's what I was talking about, man. These next few weeks are crucial for these teams left in the Big Ten, right? The Michigan States, Ohio State. So, man, these last few weeks are going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely a lot of intrigue coming out of the Big Ten in college football. We'll get back to our usual bread and butter, talking NFL football here. Week 9 just wrapped up. A lot of interesting storylines. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are definitely one of them. We'll talk about them a little bit. Browns and Bengals in that AFC North that stayed very hot. That's another interesting storyline. The Steelers are playing right now, or not right now, but they are playing tonight. So that AFC North, staying competitive. But we'll get into our biggest winner and biggest loser of the week. Each of us gave a biggest winner and loser, who had the biggest win, who had the biggest loss. And Matt, we'll start with you. I mean, you're our guest, so who's your biggest winner of Week 9?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the Titans, right? The way they continue to win football games, an incredible defensive performance this past week. And you look at what they've just done throughout the season, right? Beat the Colts twice, beat the Chiefs, beat Seattle, they just beat the Rams. So this is a good football team. Right now the best team in the AFC. And they're rolling, man. They're going to be tough to beat.
And even with no Derrick Henry, they still found a way to make it work. And earlier in the season, I think the question mark was really the defense, but they've really shown that they're a resilient team. I love Mike Vrabel and what he's done with Tennessee. So I fully agree with you that the Titans are the biggest winner this week, and I don't think there's really an argument for anyone who had a bigger week than the Titans, because going against Matt Stafford, who looked like he was the MVP for these last few weeks, I personally think he still is. But to go out there, get 5 sacks on him, make him throw an interception 2 times, I mean, Titans are easily the biggest winner.
Yeah, and I mean, coming off a huge win last week in which it took them into OT against the Colts, a divisional rival. Titans right now sit up top the AFC South with a 3-game lead over the Colts at 7-2. And yeah, like you said, without Derrick Henry, I mean, that offense has stayed rolling. Adrian Peterson steps in and doesn't do anything spectacular, but I mean, he is a legend. Obviously, a veteran guy is going to be able to step into an offense and make something happen. Scores his 125th career rushing touchdown on Sunday night against the Rams. And Dom, I noticed that the Titans were going to be your biggest winner. Do you have another biggest winner of Week 9, or do you want me to go and stall for you a little bit?
That's a tough one because it was such a weird week in the NFL with all these upsets. I think I saw that there were 5 teams that were 5-point underdogs and they won outright, which is, I don't think I've ever seen happen. So to call any of these teams the biggest winners, if you really look at them in the playoff contention, I think the only answer here is the Titans. Maybe you could say the Falcons because I think they're still in the hunt to make the playoffs. So if I had to go another winner, I'd say the Falcons, still recovering with no Calvin Ridley. They're getting Kyle Pitts more involved. I think they could be a dangerous team and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the Falcons are making a push here. I think a lot of people counted them out. Another game-winning field goal for Younghoe Koo. I believe it was his 3rd of the year already here in Week 9. So, yeah, like you said, Saints a little banged up, don't have Jameis Winston. But, they looked all right in this game still, and the Falcons were able to come out with a win. My Week 9 biggest winner, got to stay in Cleveland. Huge win for the Browns over the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals came into this game looking really good. I mean, a lot of people thought that they were the new favorite to win the division. Them and the Ravens, it was kind of a 2-dog race, right? And especially with all of the OBJ drama going on in Cleveland, a lot of stuff definitely happening for Baker Mayfield and that front office and everything. And they came out, they played together, they stuck together as a team, and I think they surprised a lot of people. They didn't surprise me that much because it's just been proven over the last 3 years that Baker Mayfield's just a better quarterback without OBJ. I don't know what exactly it is. If the chemistry's not there, there's been talks about it's a timing offense. OBJ's a little bit of a freelance guy when he gets into his routes. I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, but the bottom line is you look at the stats, you look at what he does with and without Odell Beckham Jr. on the field. And Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback, and this team is a better team without Odell Beckham Jr. And, it's sad and it's hard to say because, he is such a dynamic guy. You see some of the catches he makes. You see some of the athletic routes he runs. And it's hard to say, how can a team be better without that good of an athlete, that good of a football player? But it just turns out that way, and that's what the Browns are. And I think that it can be another exciting season for the Browns moving forward. And I think it might have something to do with the fact that they don't have OBJ. Dom, I don't know if you disagree or agree. I know you're not a big OBJ fan. Matt, I'm not sure if you have any say on OBJ, but if you do, please weigh in.
No, look, he's a fantastic player. One of the best wide receivers, we've seen in the past few years. I think when you have a big-time player like him on your football team at the wide receiver position, as a quarterback, sometimes you get locked in and think that you have to try to get him the ball. You have to try to, force the football his way. You have to try to build your offense around him, and sometimes that takes away from what the offense actually is, right? Just letting the defense dictate where the quarterback goes with the football. So, obviously it's a tough spot to be in for the Browns. But again, Odell will no doubt, have success wherever he lands.
Yeah, I think I agree. Unfortunately, I think it might be an Antonio Brown situation where wherever he goes, he's going to end up lighting it up and making the Browns look bad. That happens with a lot of players in Cleveland. They go somewhere else and then they look really good and they make the Browns look bad. So I'm fully expecting that from Odell Beckham Jr. moving forward. He might be the biggest loser individually this week just because of how good the Browns look. But our biggest loser for teams, Dom, we'll let you go first this time. You're kind of sandwiched in the middle there. Who is your biggest loser of Week 9?
My biggest loser of Week 9, I think this is another obvious one. It's the Buffalo Bills. It was the Josh Allen matchup. Josh Allen got an interception on Josh Allen. Josh Allen recovered a fumble from Josh Allen. But speaking about the quarterback, Josh Allen, it just wasn't his most impressive day in the last 2 years. We saw him have a rough rookie season, but he's continued to impress in progress throughout his career. But 264 yards, 2 interceptions. Lucas, you've said it multiple times on the podcast that the Bills are just an inconsistent team, and they can't afford to be this inconsistent as the season goes on, and especially in the playoffs, because their season's going to end early like it usually does. And I think with this loss, the AFC East might be wide open now. The Buffalo Bills sitting at 5-3. The Patriots looking better each week. If Mac Jones keeps getting better, I could see the Patriots win this division. So Bills are my biggest loser of the week. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously it's a great football team, but I think it's the Packers. I think the Packers are the biggest losers of the week, and it's just because of the situation there, right? Everything that went on throughout the offseason with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers organization and how he doesn't play. You bring the backup in who you drafted in the first round and you score 7 points. And you lose to the Chiefs, who, let's be honest, they haven't been the Chiefs really this year. It shows you how important Aaron Rodgers is to the Green Bay Packers, how much they need him to win games and to lead that football team. They're my biggest loser of the week.
Speaking of the Packers, I think Odell Beckham Jr. is heading there. Do you guys have any official predictions? Because he just got waived today.
I mean, I think that's a great way to place for him to go. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has kind of shown that he can just pick out 5 guys out of the stands and probably throw for 200 yards. I mean, he kind of, no matter what wide receiver core you piece together, he's going to do really well. He showed that last week against the Cardinals where they came out with a win in Arizona. And then this week, with all healthy receivers, Jordan Love, like you said, Matt, only puts up 7 points, so not a great week for the Packers. I think they'd probably be my biggest loser as well. But yeah, I mean, for this last season, I think that would be a great place for Odell to go, to be with Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers, too, is obviously the alpha on that team. I think that was kind of one conversation that he had when he was in Cleveland was, Baker's always been the alpha, and now there's a new alpha in the locker room. It's Odell Beckham Jr. Eyes are going to go to him whether he wants him or not. If he goes to Green Bay, I think eyes go to Aaron Rodgers just a little bit before they go to Odell Beckham Jr. Maybe it is because of the off-the-field stuff that happened in the offseason, Jeopardy hosting, not sure if he's going to come back or not. So maybe that's why, but I still think that if he goes to an elite quarterback like that where everyone in the league says he's elite, he's not like Baker Mayfield where it's debatable. Some people think he's a really good quarterback, some people think he's not. Everyone is widely accepting in the league that Aaron Rodgers is one of the best, if not the best, of all time, really. Not just in the league right now, but all time. So I think he makes him the alpha. At that point, Odell can kind of sit into his role and say, all right, tell me what you need me to do. I'll do it. I think that would be a great place for him to go, Dom. I completely agree. And I think that is also a reason that the Packers are my biggest loser, or would be my biggest loser of the week, is because, like I said, they had all their starters back in their receiver core, and Jordan Love looked really bad, to be honest. I mean, he didn't look good at all. They only put up 7 points against the Chiefs defense that has looked terrible this year. I mean, every single week we talk about how many points they've given up, and they only score 7 against them. Obviously, it's going to be hard for a backup quarterback to come in no matter what time of the season. But I think it's tough because you showed that you're committed to this guy. You spent a first-round draft pick on him when you had Aaron Rodgers last year, and you could have surrounded him with more talent. So obviously you're kind of committed to this guy. You're betting on him to be the heir to Aaron Rodgers, and he looks really bad. Obviously there's still a lot to go in his career. He still can prove a lot, but that is a big loss for them, and I think that hurts. My biggest loser of the week is the Vikings, simply because they played a great game against the Ravens, and I mean the Ravens are a really good team. Honestly, they could be my biggest winner of the week just because Lamar Jackson. I mean, we talk about the MVP race every week, and we don't talk about Lamar Jackson enough. I mean, he outthrew Kirk Cousins, and he also outran Dalvin Cook. I mean, he was the leading rusher for both teams. He looked spectacular. He's just a guy you can't stop no matter what you scheme up against him. And I think that's why the Ravens always have a fighting chance in the AFC North. We talked about how much injuries they have in their running back core, a couple of receivers hurt and stuff. It doesn't matter. If Lamar Jackson's on the field, he's going to give you a shot not only to win games but to win the division. Matt, what do you think about a guy like Lamar Jackson, who clearly is one of the most dynamic players on the field at all times?
Yeah, man, when he's on, it's almost impossible to stop, right? The ability to create plays, the ability to run and throw the football is equally good. It's just, it's fantastic to watch him play. I can't imagine how difficult it is for defenses to game plan for him, to play against him, to make adjustments in games against him. It's got to be difficult, man. So it's awesome to watch, and you're right. I mean, you don't talk enough about him when you bring up the Staffords or the Bradys, in the MVP race.
Matt, who is the most dynamic player you played against in your football career?
That I've played against?
Either on defense or that you witnessed while you were playing.
Gosh, man, it's hard to say. You play against so many great players, so many talented guys that, you can pick one from every game that you've played in. I will say that, I've had the opportunity to be teammates with Charles Woodson, he was like the perfect combination of, a fantastic, physically gifted athlete and about as smart of a player as I've ever been around. It's funny, I was talking about it on my podcast, that, because I was a backup quarterback, so I would have to run like the Cardo, we called it, like the Scouto, leading up to games each week. And, you read coverage, you drop back, and I would, throw the football where it needed to go depending on the coverage. But then, like, Woodson would come out of nowhere and break it up or intercept it and be like, that's not, like, you're not supposed to be there. That's not the coverage. But it's just he was so good at understanding what offenses were trying to do, route concepts, reading quarterbacks. So I mean that was learning experience every time I took the field. But yeah, again, been around a lot of great players, been around a lot of great coaches, and tried to soak up as much information as I could.
And I know on the Raiders you played with Terrell Pryor. Did you guys go against each other in college at all? And what was that? Did that rivalry carry over at all into the NFL? Do you guys joke about that, or what was that like?
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, I knew. Everybody knew who Terrell Pryor was from the whole recruiting process, and because him and I were the same recruiting class. And I mean, he had every possible, Division I offer you can get, and I was a preferred walk-on at Penn State. We played them in 2010 out in Ohio State, and they ended up beating us. But then obviously, as you mentioned, we were teammates in Oakland, and he was an extremely hard worker. Arguably the best athlete on the field, at all times. That's how good of an athlete he was. I mean, who else can make the transition from quarterback to wide receiver, and have success the way he did, in the NFL. But yeah, man, it's just funny how, again, like, he was the number one quarterback recruit in my class, like that 2008 recruiting class, and I was a 0-star. No Division I school wanted me, and here we go. We end up playing each other, Penn State, Ohio State, and then we end up being teammates in Oakland, man. So it's a funny game, man. Football is a funny sport.
Yeah, Terrell Pryor, definitely one of the early memories of watching football for me was watching Terrell Pryor at Ohio State, and then with the Raiders, and then eventually with the Browns. And I think that's one reason he kind of doesn't get enough credit for making that switch to wide receiver, because he played for a terrible Browns team. But I mean, goes from quarterback straight to wide receiver, has a 1,000-yard receiving year with the Browns. So definitely kudos to Terrell Pryor. If he's listening to this, I highly doubt it, but he should. Yeah, I mean, spectacular athlete, like you said. A Whitfield guy, by the way, around the Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area. Yep. I know a lot of people around here have stories of hearing him make I heard he made some amazing basketball play right here on Duquesne's campus because the Whitfield playoffs were here or something, but I can't speak on that again. I'm an Ohio guy, so I wasn't there for
like
that.
I said, it's funny. Like I said, it's funny because, I was getting recruited by some Division I schools, but I was, again, never able to get a Division I offer. And I remember that, he was saying that he was waiting to, commit to a school. He was waiting to commit to a school. Like, I was thinking to myself, I hope he, picks a school already, because then maybe, I can get a Division I offer from one of these schools now that knows he's not going there. So it's funny, man. But yeah, again, a great athlete.
Well, Matt, we really appreciate having you on. Might have held you a little longer than we told you, but we really appreciate having you. Great football mind for sure. Great broadcaster, as you can tell. So yeah, check out Matt on the Pay Dirt podcast. Check him out at Big Ten on the Big Ten Network as much as you can. I don't know if you have a Twitter or anything you want to plug, but we really appreciate you having you on.
Hey, anytime, guys.
Thank you to Matt McGloin, former NFL quarterback, Penn State quarterback. Like we said, first walk-on ever to start at Penn State. So definitely an impressive feat for Matt McGloin. Obviously a great broadcaster, great football mind. Great to talk to him for the 25 minutes that we held him hostage and get to pick his brain. We talked about Week 9. The one thing I don't think you talked about enough, Dom, was the Bills. I think we kind of wanted to hear Matt talk, so we kind of flipped it over to him pretty quick. But, I mean, the Bills, obviously, a huge loss this week. 6-9 to the Jaguars, who, I mean, are kind of a franchise that seemed to be in shambles a couple weeks ago.
Season.
What's that?
I said especially this season.
Especially this season. And they come out against a team that every time we talk about them, we talk about the fact that they're almost a Super Bowl favorite. I mean, a lot of people like them to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, and they hold them to 6 points. I mean, obviously the offense doesn't look great. Trevor Lawrence got hurt midway through this game, but they do what they need to and they win. Josh Allen, the quarterback, had 3 turnovers in this game. He had 4 turnovers throughout the first 8 games. So, I mean, just one less in one game. Obviously, like you said, a rough one for him, but a good one for defensive end Josh Allen. What do you think about that, Tom?
I love it.
What do you think about the name game?
The more I watch the NFL, especially this last week, it gives me so much hope for the Steelers. And it should give you hope for the Browns, too, because it doesn't really seem like there's any team that is just way above the other teams. Like, I feel like the years prior, it's been the Chiefs. Maybe last year is the Buccaneers. I wouldn't even say that. But usually there's one, like, standout team where it's going to be like, how do we stop them? I mean, we look at the Packers. Even with Aaron Rodgers, they're a beatable team. Chiefs obviously aren't what they used to be. And then you see the Buffalo Bills only put up 6 points against the Jaguars. So, I mean, it's any given Sunday. You never know what's going to happen in this league. And like I said, it's giving me hope for the Steelers team.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tight league. I mean, talking about Matt's biggest winner of the week, it was the Titans. I mean, a couple weeks ago, and maybe at the beginning of the season, we talked about, yeah, the Titans are good, but, I mean, you always have a chance when you have Derrick Henry, and they got A.J. Brown and Julio Jones now, but we'll see. You know, I don't know how much it's really going to work out, and now they are one of the hottest teams in the league at 7-2. Talk about the Cardinals, maybe. They're one of the top teams, just had their first loss last week. And honestly, they could be a contender for biggest winner this week because they get the win over the 49ers. The Niners not having a great season, but they get it without Kyler Murray and without DeAndre Hopkins. They had Colt McCoy as their starting quarterback, for God's sakes. And they come out with a big win, 31-17 in San Francisco. Like I said, Niners not having the season that they would have liked to, obviously, but still an impressive win with your backup quarterback and without your wide receiver one.
Yeah, I said that there's only possibly one other biggest winner, but then I saw that score, and I was like, yeah, the Cardinals probably are with Colt McCoy. If they can do that damage against the 49ers defense with Colt McCoy and without DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, I mean, the Cardinals are special. They got a really overall just great team this year.
Yeah, and it might hurt you for me to bring it up, but I mean, James Conner, you got to talk about him.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns in this game. He's looked spectacular. He's got new life now that he's in Arizona a little bit. How does that feel as a Pittsburgh fan, experiencing what we feel a lot as Browns fans, letting a guy go and then he goes and balls out? How does that feel?
I mean,
you got to root for him, I'm sure, because he's a Pitt guy and all that, but still.
I love seeing what he's doing right now. It's awesome, leading the league in scoring. No one would have saw that coming at the beginning of the season. But I'll always root for James Conner no matter where he is. Maybe not on the Ravens or the Browns, but anywhere else, I'm rooting for that guy forever. I hope he continues to have success in Arizona.
Yeah, but big week overall in the NFL, Week 9.
Weird week.
Yeah, very weird week. A week where the Raiders lose to the Giants. We just had Matt McGloin on, former Raiders quarterback. He was there when Derek Carr was there. And we talked about a little bit before we started recording, Derek Carr at one point kind of was in that MVP talk. I mean, he was playing very well, just very slightly. He was on the outside for sure. But it was like, hey, Derek Carr's got this team in a pretty good spot. Comes out in this one, 296 yards, not bad. Only 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, though. They were obviously chucking the ball. He had 46 attempts in this game. Daniel Jones on the other side only had 20 attempts. So, you know, the Giants come out with a big win here against Las Vegas, and I think that's going to end our Week 9 talk because, I mean, there's not really much more to talk about that game besides the fact, wow, the Giants beat the Raiders.
The Giants got to win.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to Week 10, though, a lot of good games in Week 10. Looking at the odds here for Week 10. Thursday night game, we always talk about those. The Ravens versus the Dolphins. Ravens coming off a big win, like I said. The Ravens are at -7.5 in Miami. Miami, after not playing with Tua Tagovailoa last week, 2 big catches, by the way, by a Penn State guy. We should have brought it up when Matt McGloin was on. Mike Gesicki, yeah, spectacular day for him. In a win over the Texans this past week, 17-9. Without Tua, like I said, Jacoby Brissett in there. And Dom, I got to ask you, I mean, Tua has not looked that good this year, and Jacoby Brissett hasn't done anything amazing, don't get me wrong, but is this team really that much better with Tua in there? I mean, every time he gets healthy, they're like, all right, we're putting him in there right now. Mm-hmm. Are they really that much better? Obviously, I don't think there's a future with Jacoby Brissett. He's getting old and stuff, but does Tua really help this team that much?
I don't know. Do you think they would have beaten the Texans by more if he was starting? I personally do. What do you think?
I don't know because, like I said, I don't think that he's that good. I think he's got a problem with turning the ball over. If Camden was here, he'd call him Tua turn the ball over because that's his favorite thing to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're only sitting at 2-7, but I think both of their wins come with Jacoby Brissett playing quarterback, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Obviously, this one does. Again, it's hard to talk about it because it is against the Texans, who are kind of a dumpster fire, if you want to say another term that Camden would use if he was here. Missing Camden on this one, clearly.
Shout out, Cam.
We're talking about him. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you think they win by more? I just don't think. I think Tua's kind of like the Bills' defense. He's very inconsistent. I think some games he can go off and he could throw 5 touchdowns and he can look really good and he could demolish this Texans team. But other games, I don't know if he does too much, causes turnovers, what it is exactly. But some games, it's just like, man, I don't think this guy's going to make it.
They certainly wouldn't have a much better record if he was the quarterback. I'm not saying that they would be better, but I do think they would have put up more points. I do think, I don't know if it's worth keeping him after this contract ends or even if they can trade him. I think it's worth sticking out and seeing what he can do because we've seen it before. He has moments of brilliance where he looks like he can be the next star in the league, but he struggles. I mean, he's also on a pretty bad team. He's got a good coach, bad team. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this team, but if I had to bet, I'd definitely take Ravens minus 7.5. This seems like if Lamar's going to win the MVP, this would be his MVP game, I feel like. I could see them beating this team 40-7, honestly.
Yeah, primetime game, Lamar's going to shine under the lights. I mean, that's what he does. By the way, I got it wrong. The other Dolphins win besides this week was against the Patriots week 1, so Tua was playing. But, I mean, they only put up 17 points. It's not like they played that great. It's not like he played out of his mind. Looking at his stat line right now, he had 202, a touchdown and an interception, 16 for 27. So, not great. And also, the Patriots weren't really together at that point, to be honest. I mean, like I said, week 1, really anything can happen week 1.
Yeah, Mac Jones' first game.
Yeah, Mac Jones' first game, that's right. And while we're talking about Mac Jones, I'm going to go to the next game that I want to talk about is the Browns versus the Patriots in New England, in Gillette, in Foxborough. The Browns coming into this one as the underdog, +1 against the Patriots.
That's surprising.
Who, like I've said, have looked really good. And I think that if you look at the last couple weeks, overall, I probably would give the Patriots the edge in this one too, if you just look at what's happened in weeks prior. But looking at how the Browns reacted without OBJ and how well they played, yeah, I think it is a little bit surprising, like you said, Dom. So what do you think here? It's basically a pick 'em. Browns +1 on the road. That's kind of, they're on the road. We'll give the home team the edge.
I mean, we know that Gillette is one of the hardest places to play in the league, but I'm going to continue riding with the Browns without OBJ because Baker's a stud without OBJ for some reason. So I'll keep rolling with them. Nick Chubb seems to be getting in his stride after that injury. So, yeah, I like the Browns here.
Yeah, I think another thing that honestly helps Nick Chubb a little bit, I don't know if it helps the team overall, but I think it helps Nick Chubb a little bit, is the fact that Kareem Hunt is hurt right now. Nick Chubb gets more carries, obviously, when Kareem Hunt's not in. D'Ernest Johnson, his number 2, is a very good number 2, but they're not rotating them as much as when Kareem Hunt was in there. So I think Nick Chubb's getting a lot more carries. Just not having to split them. I think he's going to get a lot of carries no matter what. But like you said, I said it earlier, and you said it now, Baker Mayfield's a better quarterback without Odell Beckham Jr., and I think this offense is better when they don't have Odell. And like I said, it's a crazy thing to say. You look at how athletic he is, how good of a football player he is. It's crazy to say without him, they're going to be better, but that's the cold, hard truth. I mean, right now, he didn't do anything for us here when he was in Cleveland, and Baker's just looked better without him. The next game looking at, we'll talk about Washington because Camden isn't here, so we'll talk about them for him. They're big underdogs this week at plus 9.5 to the Buccaneers in Washington, though. Dom, what do you think about this one?
9.5's a little too much for me. Buccaneers coming off the bye week, traveling to Washington. They were my biggest loser the last time they played. I called them frauds, actually. So, out of respect for myself, I'll say Washington football team plus 9.5. I think that's a lot of points there. And I think the last time we saw these two teams play, Washington put up a battle. They could have easily won that game, it seemed like. So I expect them to keep it close. Probably lose by 7 points.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Washington had a bye week this week. Yeah, that's right, because Camden was fired up about the bye week that he didn't have to watch him.
They'd be his biggest winner.
It'll be interesting to see what they did in that bye week, how they come out of a bye week. I think I say it like every week when we talk about a team coming off a bye week is some teams come out of a bye week really well rested, and some teams come out flat. So I think that going into a bye week kind of on a losing skid kind of helps more than going in on a win streak, because on a win streak you can kind of cool down. On a losing streak you can kind of, all right, let's take a step back. Let's analyze what's wrong and let's feel good going into this next week, 2 weeks away, and let's feel good about ourselves. So we'll see how Washington took that bye week. A big battle for the Cowboys out of the AFC least, -9 against the Falcons, who were your possible biggest winner this week. So the Falcons 9-point underdogs. What do you think about that one, Dom, for your week 9 biggest winner?
I mean, Cowboys, they could have easily been the biggest loser this week. I'm surprised. No one said them as the biggest loser, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of surprising. They could very well have been the biggest loser of the week. But I got to say it again. I like the Falcons a lot this season. I think they got grit. I think Matt Ryan is putting all he has into this team, and they're going out every week and they're competing. So I'd take the 9 points there. I think that's an easy one. Could see that being my lock of the week, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, 9 points. Like I always say, 9 is just. It's tough for me to talk about anything that's like greater than like 3.
Yeah.
So, excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, that's a tough one. The Steelers game coming up. They're big favorites in this one. Obviously, they haven't played in their Week 9 game yet. We're about 20 minutes away from that kickoff against the Bears. But we'll talk about your Steelers. -9 against the Lions, who are coming in still winless. What do you think about that one? Obviously, like I said, 9's a big number to cover, but Lions are winless, and they don't look that good.
Yeah, the Lions look really bad, but this reads trap game all over it. And I honestly don't think the Steelers will beat an opponent by more than 9 points all season. I think the Lions got some talented players. It's going to be tough to stop DeAndre Swift. Steelers always struggle holding tight ends, so I expect TJ Hawkinson to have a pretty big game. So, yeah, I'd take the plus 9 points. I'm also going to be there. And I've been on a streak of really good close games, so I'm expecting that to continue.
Yeah, definitely going to be a good one to watch because of the fact that, you know, like you said, I don't think the Steelers are going to blow anyone out really by 9 or more, and it's just because of the way the offense is built. Now, they might make me bite my tongue tonight because they're playing the Bears. I could see that being a blowout game for them.
I hope so.
Winning by about 15, I'd say, maybe 16, maybe 17. Just throwing numbers out at this point.
That's crazy.
But I mean, rookie quarterback Justin Fields, I could see them, you know, making him get a little jittery under the lights, not know what he's doing, maybe get a couple of sacks like the Browns did. Obviously, that's the way to hurt this Bears offense and Justin Fields. I mean, they had 9 sacks on him. And, I mean, the Browns do have a very good D-line, but so do the Steelers. So I could see it being a similar game for the Steelers as it was for the Browns against the Bears.
I'm pretty worried about this game. I'm not going to lie. Justin Fields has definitely been getting better every single game. And the Steelers are the king of trap games. So this one's really going to be interesting tonight. I either expect this to be like the Steelers-Panthers game on primetime, I'd say 2 years ago, where they just blew them out of the water early on and they just kept their foot on the gas pedal, or I can see them going back and forth until the very end and Justin Fields somehow gets a win over the Steelers defense, which would be insane, but it's definitely possible. So that's my little prediction for tonight. When this is out, you guys can tell me if I'm dumb or not.
I love making our Monday night predictions because we have no clue what we're talking about, and then we sound really dumb when it happens 10 minutes after we say it, and then the recording comes out 2 days later. Whatever. That's just our own personal battles that we have to fight as a Monday night recording podcast. We got night classes on Tuesday and Thursday, all right? We got stuff going on. On Wednesday, we got a night class, There's a lot of stuff going on. Last game we'll talk about my biggest loser of last week going up against the Chargers. The Vikings are plus 2.5 on the road in LA against the Chargers. I think the Chargers look really good, and I think the Chargers got me my lock of the week win last week because I said that they were going to beat the Eagles by 2.5 or more. They did so. Justin Herbert looked a little bit better. Bounce back game a little bit for sure. He didn't look good in the weeks past. But, he looked a lot better. He got me 30 fantasy points, so that's how I know that he played well because he's on one of my fantasy teams. But 2.5, I'm honestly surprised that it's not a little bit bigger because I feel like that could kind of be a sneaky number in this line. 2.5, you think the Chargers are really hot. Vikings are good, but they lost in a close one to the Ravens. So what do you think about this one, Dom?
I don't really know how I feel about this one, honestly. I feel like it could be one of those where they want you to take the Chargers, where it just seems so obvious that you have to take those 2.5 points. But I just can't bring myself to bet on the Vikings plus 2.5. I honestly think they're on the verge of being in tank mode for this season. They lose a few more games. I think they should lose as many as possible to get their next quarterback because Kirk Cousins is not talented enough to get playoff wins because they have so much talent on both sides of the ball. And I think Kirk Cousins is one of the reasons they're being held back. So I think I got to fall with the dummy pick of the week, and I'll take the Chargers minus 2.5.
Vikings right now at 3-5. They're second in the division, but that's a little bit, fooling because the team that's first is the Packers, 7-2, only winning team in that division, followed by the Vikings, 3-5, Bears, 3-5, and then the 0-8 Lions.
I think I said it episode 1 that the NFC East wasn't the worst division anymore, and it was actually the NFC North. And I think I was right on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, besides the Packers, that division's really bad, to be honest. But I think we'll get right into our locks of the week. Camden, although he is not here, he sent us one in. He shipped it in straight from Heinz Field on same-day shipping, I guess. Camden's pick, we're locking it in. His pick from last week, by the way, we're not sure of right now because it is about that Bears and Steelers game.
I think this is 2 weeks in a row he did a Monday night game.
After we told him not to.
Yeah, and he was like, okay, I won't. And next thing he knows, he throws that in there knowing he'd be at the game on Monday night.
Dom, what are we looking like in our standings right now of our locks?
We are sitting, I'm sitting at 5-4, you're sitting at 4-5, so we're a one-game difference. I'm one game ahead. Camden, right at the moment, is 5-3. At the end of tonight, by the time this podcast is out, he could be 5-4, he could be 5-4 or 6-3. So currently sitting at 5-3 right now. Closely contested, really. I'm excited to see how this turns out. I can't believe we're in week 10. Honestly, I was filling out this document today, and I was like, wow, week 10. We only got 8 weeks left of NFL regular season. It's crazy.
Yeah, this season has kind of flown by. Oh, excuse me. Season has kind of flown by, and Camden is definitely going to be watching with intent tonight this Steelers game because he could be, like you said, in a one-game lead over you and a 2-game lead over me, or you and him could be tied with me nipping at your heels.
We could all be tied, right?
Well, no, I'm at 4-5 right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
After
technically,
next week,
me and you could be tied, and Camden could be one game ahead.
No, I'm at 4-5. You're at 5-4.
Yeah.
How would we be tied?
Wait a second. Oh, Camden's whole Monday night thing is really throwing
Yeah, I
me
know.
off.
It really messes with my head.
I can't do math like this. Camden.
Yeah, it's messed up. But I'm in third no matter what. You're in second or tied for first.
If I lose, I'm at 5-5. If you win, you're at 5-5.
Yeah, but week 9 isn't even over yet.
Yes, for me it is. For me and you it is.
Yeah, but not for Camden, so we don't know what the standings are, is what I'm saying.
Well, let's say the Steelers cover tonight. He loses, and then me and Camden both lose next week, and you win, we'd be tied.
Yes.
All right, I'm glad we're on the same page.
But I was talking about week 9. Whatever.
Okay.
Camden's messing us up. He's not even here, and
Nice,
he's messing
Camden.
us up, of course. But Camden's flown-in pick, he sent it by messenger pigeon, actually, is the Falcons and Cowboys under 53. We talked about that game, and he's not taking the spread. He's taking the under at 53. 53 is kind of a lot, but the Cowboys' offense has looked very good. Falcons put up 27 last week. I think their offense is all right. Like you said, Matt Ryan's got them in a good spot, even without Calvin Ridley. What do you think about this one under 53?
I like it. Camden's actually usually spot on with the over-unders, so I'm a little afraid about this one. But I'll just jump off of that with my lock of the week because it's similar. I'm going to take the Falcons +9. I previewed it a little bit when we were running through these ones. So if it does go under 53, I think that's a lock. So I'm going to trust Cam's intuition here, and I'll take the Falcons here. I like the Falcons a lot. I also like the Cowboys a lot. So... yeah, but I like the Falcons in the direction they're heading in. So Falcons +9 is my lock of the week.
Well, I'm hoping that both of you guys are wrong and the Cowboys just absolutely blow them out and score more than 53 points, because then if my lock hits, we're all tied, like I said. My week 10 lock after winning in week 9 with the Chargers, like I said, -2.5 versus the Eagles pick, is the Rams -4 versus the Niners. I mean, the Rams are coming off a big loss.
Excuse me. That's a Monday night game.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
It is. I mean,
Wow.
Camden's done it twice.
It's a good pick, honestly.
I know.
Because I think the Rams are going to come out hot after a big loss to the Titans. I don't see them losing 2 in a row. I feel like Stafford would come out with a chip on his shoulder. Him and Cooper Kupp are going to get it back going. But I don't want to be the Camden of this group right now. I don't want to make that Monday night pick. I saw how much it just confused you right now, so I don't want to confuse you even more next week. And I'm going to have to change it real quick. And now as I'm scanning these lines, I can't take the Browns because that goes against my juju. Packers -4.5 against the Seahawks. Now I'm just going to run through them all real quick.
With Russ returning, that one's interesting. I was looking at that one.
Russ returning, that's true, and Aaron Rodgers might not be back yet.
He's back. He's back.
He will be back?
Yeah.
All right, well, I don't know. That's
Titans
another one.
-3. That's interesting. Against the Saints.
Titans -3 was actually my original one, and then I saw the Rams-Niners, and I switched it. So I'm going to go back to what I had before, and I actually like it a little bit more because it's 3 instead of 4 against the Saints, who are coming off a big loss against the Falcons, and divisional rival loss with your backup quarterback. That can kind of start a skid, to be honest. In a team, it's like, oh, we lost our backup, or we lost our starting quarterback, but maybe our backup's gonna, do well. Divisional rival game, let's maybe beat up on them. Falcons aren't having a great year, and then you lose to them when you were the favorite. So that could really wear on the juju of the Saints, the psyche of them, if you will, and that could have a lasting effect moving forward. And I like where the Titans are at right now. I mean, even without Derrick Henry, they come out and they beat the Rams, who are a very good team. Like you've talked about, Matt Stafford's your MVP favorite. Now that could almost hurt them. They could feel invincible right now, come out a little bit lacking against the Saints. Saints surprise them. But I don't think so. I like the Titans. I like Adrian Peterson, one of my all-time favorite players, one of my first favorite players, and still remains to be my favorite player. A.J. Brown's on my one fantasy team. I got to keep rolling with him. Even though he had 2 drops, if he would have caught either of them, I would have won in my fantasy league. I lost by 1 point.
How many points did you put up?
103. It was a bad week.
It was a very low-scoring week, like all around for fantasy.
Yeah, I had like 103 points, and I lost to someone who had 104. So he dropped 2 passes, like I said, and 2 pretty bad drops, honestly. But I'm going to bet on him to have a bounce-back week. Titans -3 against the Saints. That's my lock of the week. We are very heated right now in our standings for our locks. Dom, any final thoughts to wrap up episode 10?
Yeah, go Steelers. Whoop up on them Bears tonight. My prediction, to sound even more dumb maybe when this comes out, I think this will be a massive game for Deontay Johnson. I'm talking double-digit catches. So that's my prediction. Let's see if it comes true. Steelers stomp on the neck of the Bears.
Very good. Very good, what's that, Mike Ditka impression. I like that. But But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good. What am I trying to say? Prediction. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm in front of this green screen. I feel like a weatherman now because I'm saying prediction. But whatever. I'm losing it here at the end of the episode. If you're still listening, thanks for joining us. Thank you to Matt McGloin for joining us today. Like I said, great football mind. Great to pick his brain while we had him. Look forward to having some more guests on the show. Got some big things cooking up for sure. So stay tuned with us. Stay with the North Shore Station. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us on Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Anything you can do to support us, please do it. Share us with your friends. TikTok. Give us ratings. Give us likes. Give us subscribes.
Follow that TikTok.
There we go. TikTok. Definitely on TikTok. We're going to post some more of those clips on TikTok maybe. But we're going to be on it. We're definitely trying to cook up some big stuff here in the North Shore Station. We love having you with us. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the North Shore Station. This has been North Shore Station, Episode 10, Season 2. And yeah, look for us next time. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I'm Luke Strazio, Dom on the sticks, Matt McGloin on the Zoom. We got people all around. Thank you to everyone for joining us.
Have a great night.